This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by Casper, an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price, because everyone deserves a great night's sleep. Get $50 off any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/PCPer and enter code PCPer.
Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode number 428, being recorded December 7th, 2016. I'm Alan Malventano.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And that's it. There's no Ryan. He's somewhere in an Uber, getting lost in traffic.
Screaming at traffic.
Yeah, so, we still got stuff to talk about. But before we get into all that stuff we want to talk about, let's see here. PCPer.com/podcast is where you find the information and the show notes and all the what fors and whatnots and whatever about this episode and prior episodes. Where is this thing? Yep. PCPer mailing list, which I believe Ryan sent out the email from the Uber this time. Yeah, just that was a painful email that he sent out. Our guy is fighting with the computer. There we go. There, it switched to the subscribe. Good job. All right. Subscribe to the mailing list, which is also on this other screen that the new guy has to switch to, so that I can show the people on the thing. There we go.
We gotta show the peeps.
So you gotta show the peeps. Yeah. Mailing list. You put your name in there, you put your email address in there, and we just, we do like an email blast before we record shows. If you want to be on that blast, then, sign up for the thing. That's the only thing we use that for. We won't spam you. Much, yeah. Next up, you can also support us on Patreon. If you like the stuff we're doing and the content we're making, and you want to help us keep the lights on and stuff, then, feel free to chip in. I cannot read the changes or the increases in your amounts because I do not have the email going to me. That goes to Ryan. But if you want to spam the crap out of Ryan, who is currently in traffic, with a bunch of Patreon emails, then feel free. And send an appropriate message to him for someone stuck in an Uber in traffic. All right. So that's the intro stuff. Oh yeah, giveaway. Even though we don't have an entry on the left side, I guess the giveaway is still a thing. Is it not? It is still a thing, right, guys?
We are giving that away.
Win the white special edition Corsair RM1000i.
There are 93 minutes left.
Oh, is it only 93 minutes left? Okay, so this is basically only for the live people. 92 minutes left. Yeah. So 9 different ways to enter. If you're watching on the live stream, jump in there. Yeah. That's about all I'll say about that. It is a nice looking power supply.
Yeah, it's what, 100? Only 100 of them?
Yeah, they're only going to make 100 of these. Pretty much requires you to go, all white on your case and your motherboard and everything else.
I'll just put it on top of a cardboard box. The other motherboard box with the motherboard is actually laying on top of.
That's true. You'll just have it sitting on the table. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now we got the intro, minutia stuff out of the way. We can review. Who did this first one? AUKEY?
Now there's only one guy that lives on cases and keyboards.
Oh, that's true. He insulates his basement with cases and keyboard boxes. AUKEY KM-G3 RGB mechanical gaming keyboard. Reviewed by Sebastian. 60 wait a minute. RGB backlit keyboard for $60?
Mm-hmm.
Is it mechanical keys? No.
This is generic blue switches.
Oh, so, but they say blue.
Yeah.
Meaning that they are acting like some sort of a, like individually switched keys kind of keyboard. All right. Damn, I just can't get over the price. $60. Is it like individual key RGB lighting? I'm looking for a catch here. Like there's got to be a catch or something about this thing. Like,
well, it doesn't come with software, so there's like certain patterns that you can choose, I think.
Oh, okay. So you can't like customize.
I don't know that you can do like the rainbow effects and the waterfall and that some of the higher quality ones will do.
Any combination of keys you need is all you need to cycle between colors and patterns with separate controls for backlight intensity. Okay, so it looks like you're able to do different sections of the keyboard. Oh, it has a wave. Okay, so there's a wave or all of the keys being certain colors, which, covers like the majority of what people are doing with these things. I mean, we have an RGB keyboard, like several of them in the office here, and I have one at the house, and like I don't think I've ever gone as far as making them like, if this game is running only like the motion keys or whatever, or like going crazy snazzy on it. I typically just set it up just to have like all the keys, whatever color, and like maybe set a macro so I can adjust like the brightness easily or something like that. So, I mean, I guess that covers the majority of what people would want to do with it. And you don't have to then worry about installing silly software, right? Like the Corsair keyboards, I think if you want to have any modes at all, like you have to have the software running. Otherwise, you can just have like one preset or something saved on there if you want to not have the software. So this one potentially, more flexible in that way. You're not forced into having the software installed on your machine. So let's see here. He talks about feel of the keyboard. Very clicky. Blue.
It's the blue keys.
Yep.
The blues have click?
And clack.
Oh, those are the click. Okay. Yeah. The browns are the quieter ones that still have the feel of a click. Yeah, okay. And the reds are the ones that do not have a click. So he says they feel a little bit lighter than cherry style blue switches. But they're still doing the clicky thing. All right. I mean, still $60 RGB keyboard with actual, legit keys, key switches. Huh. Wonder if we'll bring this down so we can try it. I think he's paying us a visit this weekend. Up here.
That poor bastard.
Yeah. All right. Next up, what do we got?
I don't know. What do we got?
It might be something that Josh
maybe
hath prepared for us, perhaps.
So Thrustmaster made the foolish mistake of sending me yet another wheel and base to test out. And this time it's the TMX. It is very similar to the previous T150 in that it's a low-cost, entry-level force feedback wheel that is compatible with the Xbox One and the PC. Unlike the T150, it only has about 900 degrees of rotation as compared to 1080 on the T150. It's a very basic setup. I mean, you've got the base, you've got the wheel. You can't detach the wheel like you can on some of the other higher-end Thrustmaster products like the TX, T300, T300, T500. And it utilizes a smaller than average wheel. It's about 11 inches wide instead of the usual 12 or 13 that some of these other products feature. Again, cost is the prime motivator of this part. And they have taken a few shortcuts. So the mounting mechanism is not as robust as you see on some of the higher end products, but it still fits pretty tight. It's a smaller product overall. It's, actually kind of tiny. Mm-hmm. You can't swap out the wheels. It has a rubberized wheel coating on it. There's very little metal on it. The shaft, of course, is metal, but that's in the bearings, and that's essentially about it. Oh, and plus the mounting mechanism screw. Otherwise, if it was plastic, it would break very quickly once you start tightening that down.
Looks like the pedals are a little bit lighter weight too.
Oh yeah, I'll get to that. It features a kind of dual hybrid pulley and gear system for the force feedback. This allows them to use a less powerful motor than what you see with the TX or the T300, which again is lower price. And it feels pretty good. You get a little bit of notchiness from the gearing, but it's not terrible. And when I utilized this and used it in games, I found that it had a slightly better feel than the previous T150 that I had reviewed. I'm not sure if that was just my mind playing tricks, but I found my times were pretty good. And I didn't lose a lot of time as compared to having a higher end wheel setup. So the force feedback is solid. It's not overly powerful. It's not going to break your wrists. You can hold on to it when you wreck, and you can kind of hold it still. Unlike in some of the other, like the high end Fanatec stuff, where you don't particularly want to do that. But the drawbacks, of course, are they're saving as much money as possible. I believe that these have an MSRP of $179 to $199, depending on when and where you get it from. It's in US dollars, of course. Another, as mentioned to Alan, the pedals are really lightweight. It's all plastic construction. If you had looked at some of the other models of the higher end, they have a lot more metal on them.
You can tell even the reinforcement for like the shaft of the support for the pedal itself is like really, I mean, they made it structurally sound, but it's just super lightweight, like honeycomb style plastic kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it works well enough, but the brake pedal has some increasing resistance as you press it down, but it's not a whole lot. The accelerator has, pretty good feel, and it's easy to flick back and forth and throttle up and down. One of the nice things about this product is you can actually upgrade it in that you can add the T3PA and T3PA Pro pedals to it. They're a little bit higher end, heavier. Often they will have a clutch unit to them. And it also has the ability to add in the TH8, I believe, the gear shift. That can be swapped from sequential to H shift mode. Those are relatively inexpensive parts. Well, I think the pedals are $79 unless you get the really expensive one. They're about $150. But if you wanted to have this as kind of a starter kit to just get off the ground, get racing, see if you like it, then you can add components to it bit by bit. And eventually you would have to get like a T300 or one of the new PCTX or PCTC, I can't remember, the new latest bad boy from Thrustmaster. But it's a possibility then to utilize the different parts for these new products that you may eventually purchase if you enjoy racing and having the force feedback feeling overall. So, it's a good product. It's does the job. It's a little bit more expensive than the T150. So if you're a PC user, you may want to kind of look at the prices there. The one nice thing that this has that the T150 did not is Thrustmaster integrated the power supply into the TMX as compared to having a separate brick on the T150. So I think that's a nice little positive. I don't know many racers that really utilize the 1080 degree rotation that a T150 would give you as compared to this. Most popular games will use in between 750 to 900 for essentially usable turning radius, degrees of rotation. So anyway, positive product. It didn't really get a reward. It didn't do anything hugely amazing. But if you're looking into getting into racing and want something better than the typical bungee cord USB, really cruddy wheels, then this is a really nice, good step. It's not gonna blow your bank account unless you're extremely poor, and it's a good way to dip the toes into the water.
cool.
And I didn't even talk 30 minutes about it.
Yeah. Well, you know, simple budget racing wheel. Not a whole lot to dwell on there. Sebastian at it again. Yet another case. Poor Sebastian. We keep just throwing case reviews at him. Deepcool GamerStorm GENOME. Liquid cooled case. Does not mean that the whole case is liquid cooled. It just means it's a case that's paired with a liquid cooler. In this case, I believe it's just a CPU cooler. Comes with it.
Yep.
I mean, pretty sharp looking case. And like, is that the reservoir for the cooler that's built into the case?
It surely is.
I really like those reservoirs. Especially when you use like UV reactive coolant and like backlight it and stuff like that. So let's see here. Man, yeah, that reservoir is definitely integrated in that case. It's like pre-case modded for you. Huh. Look at that.
It's just kind of handy if you don't really feel like putting a whole bunch of effort into putting your water cooler in because it's already there.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes me want to water cool again, just so I can have like a snazzy looking reservoir right sticking out the front of the case. Because usually you try to do something sharp looking with your reservoir and like make it visible from inside the case, and like now you don't have to worry about it. It's just there. All right, so let's see what else we got here. There's a fan at the rear.
No intake fans, unfortunately.
No intake fans, but I think you can add them.
You can, and in fact, Sebastian highly recommends it because the GPU temps were pretty high.
Okay, so it just wasn't really circulating that much air.
No, it's liquid cooled, so
sure,
strange enough.
Sure.
But once he popped those front fans in, he said it was just fine.
Okay. I'm looking for the coolers. Okay, so there's the cooler. It looks like everything just comes built in. You got your reservoir on the front. You got your radiator, which I think is a triple. I think it's a triple rad. Yeah, there's 3 fans on that guy. So that's a pretty beefy radiator for what is just a CPU cooler. CPU cooler comes protected in a box for shipment, obviously. I'm looking for the place where he unboxes that guy. Come on.
Next page.
Oh, all the way on the next page. Okay.
Yep.
So let's
you can see it hanging out the top there.
Yeah, that's pretty beefy looking. That is a stout cooler. All right. Well, I mean, it looks like they're doing it right. I'm assuming the cooler has a pump built into it for the circuit. It looks like, because it is pretty thick.
Thickness would lead me to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, water block, pump built in. Cool stuff.
And it's got a really fancy trick with a GPU.
Yeah, look at that. They got a ribbon coming off of your GPU slot, and then so you can place your GPU vertically.
Yep.
And making it visible out the side window of the case instead of having all that stuff usually hidden and pointing straight down. So that's also cool. Huh. That's pretty sharp looking. It's got a hard drive cage. It's got little SSD cages. It's got a fan controller from the looks of it.
Ooh.
What?
I just said, ooh, it's got a fan controller.
Yeah, fan controller built in. What else we got here? So he did a build. And there's, definitely a fan controller. Oh, well, he's using the fan controller on an Asus motherboard. Okay. Let's see here. What else we got? Man, that looks really sharp. Huh. All right. Definitely check it out. If you're listening to audio, definitely check this out on the site. Yeah, so the beef Sebastian had with it was GPU cooling wasn't great. The CPU cooling was pretty darn good from the looks of it and the results here. And where is it overclocked? Or on an AMD. Oh, what is he testing here? R9 290X. Oh, that's GPU. Yeah, so GPU definitely ran on the warm side with this particular case, just because they didn't include intake fans on the front. But that's remedied as long as you know that that's an issue coming into it. And, you just take care of it.
$250.
Yep. He says, lowest idle and CPU load noise he has ever encountered. So that's good. That means they were smart on how they did their pump for the circuit. And, that's the whole point of water cooling, was to have a pretty quiet machine. So $250, but remember, that's a case and the cooler.
And that funky PCI Express thing.
And the PCI ribbon. Well, you can get those for kind of cheap, but it has the mount for it so that the card will stay. Yeah, it's built into the case. But triple rad, nice looking reservoir with the little helix twist thing going on.
Helix twist apparently is only for show. Doesn't actually work.
Okay.
Which is sad, but okay.
Well, but you can, if you're creative with how you do your lighting, you could probably shoot light through the helix.
It's built that way.
Oh, it just does it? Okay.
There's LED lighting along the sides.
Yeah, so
just show off your fanciness.
Sure. So, reservoir, pump, water block for a CPU, and a triple rad. That stuff kind of adds up. And, you got that and a case. That sounds like a deal.
Does things. It's fantastic.
Yeah. When I did my last water cooling case, I tried to get an integrated thing. That's when Coolants was making them. And that was $650 for the case.
Yeah.
And that was the case, a dual rad, and a reservoir, and the pumps. So the prices have come down considerably. You still had to get the water blocks for mine. Yeah, pretty good. I'd say if you want to get into water cooling and you don't want to have to deal with trying to source what part from where and whatnot. Just remember you're going to need some intake fans on that. I'm surprised they didn't include intake fans, because that's most people who water cool will recognize that you're going to end up suffering somewhere else on cooling the other ambient cooled things, non-water cooled things.
And if they'd set up a loop where you could include the GPU in it, even if that was an extra kit, that would make more sense. But yeah, you got to have a little bit of air blowing over there.
Yeah. That rad is enough to support a GPU in addition. So if you had a water cooled GPU, you could probably splice it in. I would imagine. It's not like it's a sealed system since it has a reservoir. So
true.
Yeah, you should be able to cut into that and add some stuff. Should work. All right, cool. Let's see here. Next up. Actually, that's it for the week in review, isn't it? No.
Nope.
What else do we got here?
EVGA
power supply. EVGA.
Lee, the power supply master.
Lee, the power supply guru. Yes. Tested the EVGA SuperNOVA 550 watt power supply. This is a 80 plus gold power supply. He has a whole line of them listed here as far as updates on.
Look at that warranty.
Warranty is
7 years.
Holy crap.
On the 550 and 650, the 750 is an upper 10.
Really? That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So 7-year warranty on the one he tested, but yeah, if you go higher on your wattages, it moves to a 10-year. No, I will say this: power supplies tend to be pretty, robust and last, just generally.
Yeah.
So as long as there's halfway decent components on the thing, and as long as you're not,
tell me with that with a straight face 10 years ago.
Well, if it was PC power and cooling, maybe.
I've had power supplies you don't usually have power supply problems. At least I haven't.
Oh man, back in the early 2000s, like Enermax and Nantec and those guys that were considered pretty high end. You were lucky to get 3 years out of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. I must have just been lucky.
You probably were.
I did have a plasma
look how
ball.
much hair you have right now.
I had a plasma ball come out of power supply, but that was a water cooling. That was my fault. I had a leak. I moved across country. Something developed a leak during the move. I fired up the PC, didn't see the leak, and it basically just and the leak was going straight into the power supply. And it wasn't happy. Yeah. Anyway.
They generally are.
No, it was, yeah. let's see here.
I mean, it's pretty much bang on the same as the G2 was.
Okay.
It's just shrunk.
Oh, well, that's good.
So I use a 130 millimeter fan. I'm just trying to figure out. I know the measurement's in here somewhere, but it's knocked a little bit off of the size. Sorry, it's 150 millimeters deep, so 5.9 inches. So
yeah, it's basically like just a little bit larger than the size of the fan, and it's square.
Yeah.
So
the previous version had an extra. I think they were 175s.
Yeah. All right. Well, modular cables, cool. Of course, he's gonna like bust it open here, I'm sure. Let's see. There it goes. It's just like this is a 550, right, or a 650? Yeah, 550. So 550. It's not gonna be, you don't need a lot of stuff in there. Even though it is smaller, like they could have probably even got away with making it even a little bit smaller than that. Probably just kept that size mostly to accommodate the fan. And to be, basically like a normal size for a power supply. Huh. All right. I mean, components look good.
It's not a whole lot of internal cabling.
Yeah.
It's all PCB and soldered to the main board. The construction looks
good.
Pretty nice.
Very clean.
Yep.
Very clean.
Nice, clean design. Less stuff for dust to get caked all over time. That's always
Less
good.
Plastic parts to possibly overheat and then fry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see what he boils down in his thing here. Actually, the prices look pretty darn good all the way up to 1,000 watts. 1,000 watt power supply for $160 for like
a 10-year warranty.
With a 10-year warranty. Yeah, I mean, well, it's and it's a quality power supply at that. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Wait a minute. 550 watts up to, talking about the ratings of the whole line, up to 1,000 watts. I hope he didn't pull 1,000 watts from a 550 watt power supply.
No, he didn't. That's the entire line. The entire line goes up to 1,000 watts.
Gotcha. 90% efficiency. That's pretty good. Very clean DC output according to how he has measured it. I mean, all Japanese-made capacitors.
The good stuff.
Yeah. All right. We got editor's choice from Lee. So that's definitely saying something. Cool. All right. We got one more. Well, is it actually a review? It's more like a
news.
It's more like a newsy editorial-y kind of thing. Qualcomm and Microsoft bring full Windows 10 to Snapdragon devices.
What are you looking at?
Am I on the new? What is this?
Razer joins Khronos Group.
Hold on. This was under the wrong...
Did that not make it in?
I don't know. I'm looking at the show notes.
Oh, that's pretty brand new, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a brand new thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It just happened.
Yeah.
Ryan
just didn't
posted
happen
it.
in the
Just happened. He snuck this in on Josh. It threw Josh off.
That's easy to do.
At WinHEC in China today, Qualcomm and Microsoft announced partnership to enable a full Windows 10 computing environment on systems based on Snapdragon. So like Microsoft's taking another stab at this whole not x86 thing again, I guess.
Well, except they're doing it properly this time, as opposed to making up
like its own Windows build.
Laughingly be referred to as an operating system.
Yeah.
Windows RT was not good.
Yeah, so as opposed to a useless operating system that nobody's going to use and it's going to die a very quick death, this is something where I guess they're going to virtualize
Windows on Windows.
Yeah, I mean, it'll kind of be similar to how like 64-bit Windows runs 32-bit stuff now, except
Got it.
Well, yeah, but it's a little different, right? Like it's it's like the whole kernel now has to run on this thing that's not x86, right?
Yep.
So,
but it will run Office, Edge, games. Of course, UWP stuff from the Windows Store, but they're saying it's going to be a lot more native than it was for their first horrible attempt at doing this.
Now, I'm guessing that they had to bake some extra stuff into the into the Snapdragon hardware, I would imagine, like to make this at a reasonable speed, basically to get reasonable performance out of this, right? Because like if you just tried to port like the whole Windows thing, x86 virtualized under ARM, it probably wouldn't perform that great.
I don't know. It says it runs Crysis 2.
Well, sure. I'm just saying, like, if you did that, if you tried to take a Windows RT machine with an ARM processor in it, and just do this with it instead, I don't think that hardware would work nearly as well as this Snapdragon. That's kind of like better optimized to handle this type of a thing. Huh.
And part of it is that they're talking about an all new form factor.
Okay.
So extra large tablet, extra small ultrabook, the return of the netbook sort of a thing.
I don't know. They're already kind
of have LTE in it, so
they're already kind of doing extra large tablet, although it's a desktop machine.
No, right?
Well, I mean,
that's sort of what they're pumping. So it's going to be interesting to see what exactly they're thinking, or are they going to be building it into your bloody fridge and toaster?
Yeah,
but another possibility.
To be able to be ballsy enough to put Crysis 2 in your press release,
yeah,
like it has to perform. So
there's also an update for it coming out where there's ultra low settings, but
Crysis 2 at 300 by 240.
Yeah.
I get it. All right, you figured it out. Okay, so I mean, I guess more to follow on that as we might. This seems close enough to CES to where like there might be a thing for us to see at the show, maybe somewhere hiding in a back corner or some room somewhere. It's possible. So keep your eyes open for that one. All right, Josh.
Me.
Now we can talk about that next thing.
I have no idea what it's about.
Oh, you're just so excited to talk about the next thing. So we're moving off into the general news here.
Well, we all know that Josh has no standards
that handle OpenGL.
Oh,
and it's kind of interesting that Razer, who used to just make keyboards and mice, and then went into some interesting laptops and a plethora of other products, is now on the Khronos group. Jeremy, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, they've been kicking around for a while, and we're trying to get like a nice standard going, which is not going to be one of 15 different VR standards. So it looks like Razer, for whatever reason, is sort of interested. Maybe they're working on a peripheral. Maybe they just want to make sure that they've got a little bit of a voice in it, because you've got a long list of people. Google, Microsoft, Oculus VR, Samsung, Sony, and Valve. Microsoft is involved, but not in this particular thing, which is probably them going their own way with their HoloLens and the baked-in VR for Windows 10 that they're going to be working on. But I would not be shocked if someone in Razer is thinking, all right, VR needs new peripherals. The mouse and keyboard are usable, but there's a new market. Let's try and get in here, figure out a way to put our product paired with the Vive, paired with whatever Valve does with their OpenVR, to get in the market and just be there at the very beginning, so that they've got a little bit of an edge on Logitech, on any of the other guys who are going to be like, crap, not everybody likes those little pointer things. And Razer may have come out with something interesting. Other than that, it's odd how big the announcement was that Razer's joining. I mean, this is a great thing, but yeah, Razer?
So Ken's yelling at me over here saying Razer has a head-mounted display that they make, which I didn't know. I didn't even know that they had one, but we should probably
Is it called the Blade?
We should probably look at that thing.
See, now that makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Or is it not available?
It's like an open source project that
they're
making a headset for.
Open source, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there definitely does need to be some kind of standardization push thing, for all this VR stuff, especially.
Hey, everybody. I'm Ryan Shrout, cutting in here to make sure we give credit where credit is due to our sponsor for this week's episode of the PC Perspective podcast, Casper. That's right. We all know Casper. They are the online retailer of premium mattresses at a fraction of the cost. They revolutionized the mattress industry by cutting out the cost of dealing with resellers and showrooms and passing the savings on to you guys. And we have the ability to pass more savings on to you with coupon codes as well. So that's obviously important. Casper mattresses are obsessively engineered. They combine a couple of technologies, springy latex foam and supportive memory foam. So you get the best of both worlds there. Just the right amount of sink and bounce, as they like to say. It's a breathable design, helps you regulate your temperature through the night. I have a Casper mattress. I love it. I was sleeping on it just today after a red-eye flight, actually. And the best part about it for me is these types of mattresses, you don't notice when somebody else gets out of bed. If the dog gets up and walks off the bed to go downstairs, I don't have to worry about it because the springs are not bouncing around and jostling me on the other side of the mattress. They understand the importance of truly trying out a mattress that you really spend like a third of your life on. And really, this is the important part here. You get a 100-day trial period with free delivery and painless returns. That's right. After 100 days, if you don't like the mattress, if you feel like it's not for you, you can send it back. I don't think that will be the case for you, but you have that flexibility and that option. That's pretty impressive. Casper mattresses are made in the USA. You get free shipping and returns in the US and Canada. And you can get a Casper mattress for $500 for a twin or $950 for a king size. And those are actually really good prices already, but we can save an additional $50 if you go to casper.com/PCPer and use offer code PCPer. That's casper.com/PCPer. Use promo code PCPer. Terms and conditions do apply. And we thank Casper for their support of the PC Perspective podcast. Thanks, guys.
Cool. All right. Next up, Thermaltake launches a water cooling friendly extended ATX 900 series case. Look at that thing. Holy crap. It's like, it looks kind of like the case that would surround like a UV-based 3D printer. Except there's computer parts in there. It's like a big square. Well, it's not like a pure square. It's like a stretched out cube that's like a little taller.
It's like 30 by 17 by 19, more or less.
Yeah. Huh.
She's big. And so you notice how you're not seeing components so much as you're seeing cooling?
Yeah. It's like everything's along the back, you know, and then you got glass panes on probably the front 2/3 along either side. And then it's like the back third of the space of the case is reserved for like all your extra stuff that's going to be behind the motherboard. And then
your
it's
PSU,
it's almost like
RAD, just about everything.
Yeah, it's almost like an aquarium, kind of. Yeah. You know, for showing off your water cooled stuff. I mean, it looks pretty cool. Definitely roomy. That's what's in the back there. So a couple of hard drive cages. Looks like I'm guessing you can fit 4 hard drives in there, and then there's just all sorts of room for PSU and there's a bunch of space back there. You could probably cram all sorts of stuff back there if you really.
4 on the left, 4 on the right, and 4 on the back.
Huh.
So you can fit almost enough storage for you.
Yeah, almost. And it comes in white for the people that still have like a couple minutes to enter that contest to get that power supply. Because even though I don't think you can see it in this case, that power supply would really go with it when you took the back off. Unfortunately.
You could see it. It'd look awesome.
It looks amazing when you open up the back of the thing that you're not supposed to open the back of. All right. I mean, that's pretty cool. $250, but it's water cooling friendly. I don't think that means it comes with the water cooling stuff. But plenty of room for the water cooling stuff, which will cost you some more money. But yeah, that's a really nice looking case. Definitely is. All right. Cool. I'm sure we will see plenty of those at CES. Next up. Tim wrote this one up. Intel Z270 Express and H270 Express will support Kaby Lake, of course, and give you more PCI Express 3.0 lanes. And I think it only gives you like 4 more, right?
That's right. 4 more.
Yeah, 4 more lanes coming off of the chipset, which means these are 4 more lanes that are still bottlenecked by DMI 3.0 link, which is going to give you PCI Express 3.0 by 4 speed, basically. But, realize...
Why we're not seeing more M.2 slots on there either.
They're not changing how the rapid storage technology stuff works, which is, you can do M.2 SSD like NVMe RAID. Basically, you swap every pair of SATA ports with an M.2 port, so you can have boards that go like the Gigabyte SoC Force Z170, which we reviewed. We did triple M.2 RAID, but if you'd use that, you have no SATA ports. And none of that stuff is changing with this. It's still 6 SATA ports that you can swap, interchange for up to 3 M.2 if the motherboard maker puts it on there. So these extra 4 lanes are basically for just extra stuff, like extra peripherals, extra things that would be integrated into the motherboard that need PCI lanes, that are not necessarily going to be saturating the bandwidth or the bottleneck of DMI 3.0, because there's plenty of auxiliary stuff in your system that is not a bandwidth hog, but it just needs someplace to plug in, basically, right? So, think about it like your, Ethernet controllers and, basically, your sound, your USB ports, extra USB ports that aren't built into the chipset, because the chipset already accounts for some of that stuff. I mean, it's just a matter of, giving you a little more breathing room on this chipset to talk to a little bit more stuff without taking up the CPU PCI lanes. So, I mean, looks cool. Progression. I mean, there's not a lot of other groundbreaking things that happen there. What really needs to happen from Intel is a faster link to the chipset, but that does not seem to be on the chart yet. As far as Kaby Lake. Otherwise, we would have heard something. Okay. Next up. Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
I can't freaking wait. I'm waiting. This is like too long. Like it's always too long before the next MechWarrior release. So MechWarrior 5.
Oh good lord, how many decades has it been?
I know, right? Like it's people should be talking about this instead of talking about what's that game that never comes out? Oh, Duke Nukem. Or something,
but eventually it did.
It eventually did come out, but
unfortunately,
you never hear that. You never hear that meme about the MechWarrior stuff, but it's always such a cool game. The
BattleTech one that just got kickstarted will be turn-based, so it's going to be fun, but it's not fun.
Yeah, it's not going to be actually
Can you believe it was 1995, 96 when MechWarrior 2 was out? We've only gone through. Only till 5 over 20 years?
Yeah.
These people are just slacking.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this. I'm looking at some of the footage. I mean, it looks pretty good.
Very
pretty. For pre-alpha.
But it will be more like MechWarrior 1.
Yeah.
In a way. Because it's set early in the universe, pre-clan, a lot of the fancy shit that you grew up to love, the LBX autocannons, the enhanced range lasers, some of the fancier Gauss rifles, you're not really going to see. This is going to be more of the standard stuff that you saw, the PPCs, basic lasers, long-range missiles and short-range missiles, of course, but it's not going to be quite the arsenal that you might be hoping for.
I mean...
But this could also make some interesting things story-wise.
It still looks pretty darn good. I mean, that really does look pretty good. What I'm hoping for is VR. Some sort of VR support.
Well, it's Unreal Engine 4, so guess what? There's VR support.
But the VR support would probably, I don't think you would use it to turn the torso. You know what I mean? Like VR usually, if you
turn your head in the cockpit.
That's what I mean. You turn your head in the cockpit. But unfortunately, if there is a side window. See,
I'd hope not.
There might not be.
Good way to catch a bullet in the side of your head.
There might not be a side window. I don't think there were side windows on this mech that was on this one that they're driving right here. Or at least there's a big gun on the left, so I don't know how you can see through that. But no, I would expect
the view will be like this. So you turn your head, you're turning the torso.
Yeah, I mean...
I've seen no benefit to looking around the cockpit.
Yeah, see, that's my point. You really need to look, out the front. But Josh does have a point. If there are mechs that have a wider, field of view out of the front of the cockpit, then Huh.
Your friggin' Locust and stuff, maybe, but yeah, I don't
crap.
think so.
What the hell?
What's
Like a drop ship? Oh, it's a drop ship.
Yeah.
flying.
They're in a wee bit of problem right now.
Oh.
Not just one, not just two.
Holy crap. Well, that's
shooting laser beams.
So there's something that's never looked quite that good, actually.
God, no.
That guy's taking fire too.
I don't think he cares.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he cares either. He's dropping his stuff, yo. Are they going to show what gets dropped? No, of course not. They're going to fade it out.
No, you don't get to see the layouts. But apparently you get a job with them.
All right.
At the very end of it, they're like, oh, looks like we got a new job, boys.
Huh.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
I mean, looks like a good MechWarrior game. Sweet. I mean, I was like playing BattleTech on like Commodore.
Well, MechWarrior Online is CryEngine stuff.
Yeah.
The commenter saying it's going to be like MechWarrior. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, cool. Next up, news. HP launches ruggedized Apollo Lake powered Apollo Lake? Convertible tablet. Which one is Apollo Lake?
Semi-beer proof. Apollo Lake's the Celeron N3350 or Pentium N4200 paired with a HD 500 or 505.
Okay. All right, so I mean, decent performing for a tablet. Not like a powerhouse. Let's see here. Yeah. It's basically just a convertible tablet thing. 11-inch screen, 2-in-1, and
semi-beer proof.
Yeah. I mean, looks cool. Probably yet another one of those things we'll see at CES. Yeah. I would imagine. And
it's also you've got to have one of those Windows 10 academic editions. It's like they're only going to sell it to universities and such.
Okay.
But starts at $329, so it's definitely student priced.
Yeah, that's definitely student pricing. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so that'd be the kind of thing you pick up through your university store or something like that.
And hopes it supports RDP, so you can actually connect to a real machine.
Yeah, that would help. All right, cool. Next up, this one's me. Micron launches 5100 series enterprise SSDs. So this is like a staged rollout that these guys are doing. I had a call with them last week, and they basically briefed me on all the stuff to come. And here's the thing. They're doing a serial ATA enterprise line of SSDs. They are all going to use the IMFT 3D flash. Every single SKU is going to be pure TLC mode. No hybrid, no SLC, no caching trickery. And the performance of all these products is shockingly good, considering that they're all rated for enterprise workloads. Meaning if you do 4K random to these things, you're not just doing 4K random to a little chunk of the drive, you're doing it to the whole drive, like all the way across front to back. So there are 3 different like major models here. There's an Eco, a Pro, and a Max. And then basically, as you work your way up to the Max, there is essentially just higher and higher over provisioning of the flash. So you're probably going to be like, somewhere around 7 or 10% over provisioning for the Eco, and then the OP will just continue to go up. By the time you get to the Max, you're probably over 50% over provisioned on your flash. So, basically close to 2 times the amount of flash available compared to what's shown to the user. Specs are pretty good. Sequentials are your typical kind of sequentials. You're going to saturate. It's SATA, right? They also make M.2, but remember that's not NVMe. It's M.2 SATA because this is enterprise, and there are some enterprise form factors that want to cram even more SATA parts into a smaller space. So they'll have like an M.2 kind of like SATA cage thing that can just like cram a bunch of those channels in there. As you work your way up from Eco to Max, 74,000 random writes when it's random writes to the whole SSD. Like, that's pretty darn good for, flash management and just the fact that this is all running in TLC. Like, you would expect this thing to be crawling. But apparently Micron has figured out something with how to tune these things or just make them, I don't know. All I know is we need to test them ourselves and see, how these things are actually performing and what their consistency looks like, because that's another one of their claims, is that the performance consistency is even better than some of the competitors' NVMe enterprise products, and higher. So higher random IOPS out of a SATA part than some NVMe parts. Now realize, when you do random to the entire span of flash, even on NVMe, like typically the flash is your limiting factor. So that's, that's pretty good. So I look forward to testing that stuff and using our new method of doing that performance consistency test, like using latency percentile and whatnot to show that stuff. So we'll see. They're not all out yet. They're not rolling out every single capacity right away either. You're going to have to wait for that 8 terabyte Eco model, which will not be launched until later next year. They did tell me that none of this has to do with waiting for like more layers of flash or waiting for a newer generation of flash. It's just a matter of how they didn't want to like flood the market with a bunch of SKUs at the same time. So when they do make an 8 terabyte model, it's just going to be the same type of dies, the same 3D, 32 layer flash. But it will just be, more of it built into the product, and it'll obviously be a more expensive product. But speaking of expense, again, these are enterprise parts. For the Eco model, you're around 50 cents per gig, which is, again, pretty darn good for an enterprise rated product, like one that can handle random. It's meant for basically, like continuous random access. If up to continuous random access. Pretty cool stuff. Moving on to more enterprise SSD stuff. This time it's Western Digital. Now, Western Digital and HGST are technically like the same company, right? Western Digital has SanDisk now, and they have HGST. I think they're kind of choosing to not rebrand everything and call everything a Western Digital thing, because HGST has kind of a lot of street cred when it comes to enterprise parts. So I believe HGST is kind of just going to turn into like the enterprise branding or enterprise brand of Western Digital. That's just a hunch. I mean, WD still does have some enterprise hard drives, but like it just seems to be that this is the way things are going. So you take SanDisk flash, I assume, and you put it into a second generation HGST SSD, and you end up with SN200 series. So that's going to be available in U.2 form factor, which is PCIe 3.0 by 4 in a 2.5 inch form factor. It's a little bit thicker than your typical 2.5 inch SSD, but it's like designed more for enterprise, like smaller form factor than trying to put a bunch of PCI cards into a chassis. They do make a PCI half height, half length card. It's SN260, and if you're gonna go for the card, you might as well use some more of those PCI lanes that you could have in the in that particular spec. So this is a NVMe PCIe 3.0 by 8 on that one, which ends up doubling your throughput to 6.2 gigabytes per second out of this SSD. That's pretty cool. And it does also, I believe it's for the U.2 version of it. It does what's called 2x2, which is you could split this device into two pairs of PCIe 3.0. So if you want to have a chassis that effectively like splits the storage across to two systems, you could have a pair of systems that are each talking to an array, or even individually, of the U.2 parts, which are normally by 4, except each system has access to everything that's stored on it, except it's over a by 2 link. And so each of the two systems can access the storage at the same time, which is good for like failover and, just different types of redundancy and setups. You can have the system itself go down, one of the two, and all of your storage is still hot and still available, and then the other system just picks up where the other one left off. So that's cool stuff. Intel was talking about that at their Cloud Day thing earlier this year, and up till now, as far as I knew, Intel was the only company even talking about having a product that can do that. So now you have like another product moving into that 2x2 thing. Also, there's a line of SAS SSDs. There definitely is some 12 gigabit SAS demand in the enterprise for that sort of thing. So think about these as sort of like enterprise SATA SSDs, except they're a little bit thicker and they use SAS 12 gigabit, and they have higher performance than what you could possibly get out of SATA because that link has half the bandwidth. So out of these, they're talking about up to 1,800, so 1.8 gig per second. Actually, that seems even higher than what should be capable of, and 250,000 4K IOPS. I'm going to have to look into that, because I think it's a pair of 12 gigabit channels for SAS. I don't know, I'll have to double check. Anyway, impressive specs, nonetheless. Go ahead. What?
SAS should be 2 6 gigabit channels.
Yeah, I thought that was how they got
12
the
is 2 6 gigabit.
Yeah, but
As it goes.
their read performance seems higher than what should be physically possible on that link. Because I don't think you can get 1.8 gig per second across a 12 gigabit interface.
No. Or if you can, I'd love to know how you do it.
Yeah. So I'll have to double check that after this. Also, and probably more interesting to all of our readers, is HE12. So there was an HE6, an HE8, HE10. Now there's an HE12. So basically they added a platter to the HE10, increased the density a little bit in addition to that, I believe. And
they're kind of using that as radioactive helium. I don't like it.
But at least the helium makes the drive lighter.
Yeah. So HE12, that's a heck of an isotope of helium.
Yeah.
They got floating around in that thing. 12 terabytes in a standard hard drive, standard 3.5-inch hard drive, available in SATA and SAS. And it is SAS 12 gigabit, but you don't see much more of a performance gain because you're limited really by the throughput of the disk. 243 meg per second. That's what assuming that's like the beginning of the disk. That's pretty high for a hard drive. Basically, you're increasing your density, so you're getting a, increase in the linear track throughput there. So you see a little bit of a boost. This random read IOPS, 186. So again, here's your reality check for hard drives versus solid state. Not 186,000, it's 186. But still, that's an awful lot of storage in a relatively small thing. And if you've looked around anywhere on the net at the actual in the field reliability reports from various places, whenever they have the helium filled stuff in there, it's usually noticeably more reliable than any of the other types, which kind of makes sense. These things make less heat. There's less friction. It's filled with an inert gas. You don't have to worry about any kind of any particulate getting in there, because if they can seal it well enough so that the helium stays in and doesn't escape, then you pretty much it's a sterile environment in there where all the mechanical parts are moving around. So stands to reason, why you'd kind of see some reliability improvement there. Even though the mean times between failures, I think those numbers all work out the same because of the way that you come up with that type of a number. Still, you end up seeing more actual reliability in the field. Not only is there an HE12, but there's also going to be, and it's probably not going to be called an HE14, but it'll be a 14 terabyte shingled magnetic recording drive coming middle of next year, which is basically just the HE12 just reconfigured to overlap its tracks and do shingling. But remember, don't take one of those and try to stick it in your NAS. It might work, but things will go very slowly if you do any kind of random writing. It will not be happy. Think of shingled magnetic recording as the tape backup equivalent of hard disks. Kind of. You get random reads, but you do not get random writes, or at least not a lot of them. That's pretty cool. And it was this time last year we were talking about 10 terabyte shingled coming. And now 1 year later, that number has gone from 10 to 14. So, the hard drive stuff is still kind of moving up, at least as far as the capacity goes. It's not dead yet, I guess. If you got your bulk storage needs.
There's a mention of RAID rebuild assist in there?
Yes, there is. I haven't dug into that a whole bunch, but it's supposed to be a technology that... reopen this thing here. It's supposed to be a technology that allows... there's coordination that needs to happen for this to all work. Where is that? It's down here at the bottom of their press release, I believe.
It was on one of the tables there at the top, I think.
Oh, it was. The idea is that you can do a RAID rebuild and not have to read all drives front to back in order to accomplish it. There's some sort of coordination between a RAID controller that has to have this feature. Like, if you can't just plug this into any RAID controller and have it do something different. The RAID firmware and hardware has to be aware of it. But the idea is that when you go to do a rebuild and say the drive only has half of the data actually stored on, like it's only half full, ideally you would only rebuild the parts that had data to rebuild, right? You wouldn't have to, if you only had 10% of your array full, you wouldn't want to wait 100% of the writing time, right? And the idea there is if you can minimize how quick it takes or how long it takes to do the rebuild, then you're maximizing your reliability, because if you had a second failure in a RAID 5 that was rebuilding, then the whole array goes away or other bad things happen, right? So there isn't a lot of info out there about how this actually is implemented and works, because I would imagine it's very, very vendor specific. So it's not something that any kind of home user or even power user, I think, is going to be able to just I'll just get this other RAID controller that has this thing, and then poof, it just works. All right, cool. What's next? New GeForce drivers. Scott wrote this guy up. 376.19 is out, and they have 2 contests. Okay. Driver fixed SLI issues in No Man's Sky,
which everyone cares about.
And also fixed some mobile G-Sync stuff, G-Sync for laptops, which a couple people care about. And then what is the contests? 2 giveaways.
Yeah. Post to their Twitter and Facebook with about 15 different hashtags and ats, and they're giving away a 1080 every day. A bunch of Oculus Touch titles with that. And towards December 9th, this Friday, they're giving away a complete system with including an Oculus Rift and Touch controllers. Not awful. And their second one involves their GeForce Experience. You've got to use the GeForce Experience, and you get a Rift, Touch controllers, and a 1070. Literally all you need to do is use GeForce Experience, and you're already there, because as we've discussed before, you want to use it, you got to give them an email address. So, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could potentially win some stuff. You got to give up some info, obviously, of course. All right, cool. I believe this one is last. Yeah.
We sort of touched on it before.
But yeah, we did already kind of touch on this one. Khronos Group announces a VR standard initiative. Okay. So this is, it's different. It's a different article than what we were just talking about before. But
hey, look, Razer's in there.
Yeah, look, Razer. Yeah, how convenient. That Razer Group that just had a thing saying they were joining the Khronos Group. So VR initiative.
HTC?
Yeah. No, I don't see. Well, Valve is there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with their Open VR. Like they literally donated the OpenVR API to them.
Right. But like Valve is there, which in a roundabout way includes like HTC is just making the hardware
Yeah.
for the for the Vive, which is Valve, right? So they're kind of all there, like all the big players are there. So that's cool. You got Google, Oculus, Razer, Valve, Epic Games, AMD, Intel, NVIDIA.
No WebVR guys though.
No. But
No.
they
No
might.
Samsung. That's but
Also true.
they get theirs from Oculus, don't they? They license.
I think so.
Good question.
Yeah. Ken is nodding in approval. So yes.
Yes.
All right. So I guess they're trying to make some kind of VR standard thing so that Oh, actually, they got Daydream in here in one of their things. So that's I mean they're pretty much on Samsung Gear VR. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like it's like they're just trying to cover the full gamut with like I guess a universal kind of API, like a VR API thing.
We can hope.
I mean that would be good. Yeah, sweet. All right.
Picks. Let's get to the picks before it's too late and we all die.
Picks. All right. Ryan is probably not picking Uber.
No, he's picking Canuber. It's the new Uber, but with boats.
Oh. Well, that might actually get him.
Clever, Jeremy.
That would get him. That would get him to his destination quicker. Actually. All right. What do you got, Jeremy?
It's a relatively new 3D printer that I was just reading a review of, and it got like the best scores I have seen from the particular guys that did it. And Ken's backed me up and said it's actually the shit. So this is good. It's got a heated bed with some PIE film on it, or PEI film on it rather. So you don't have to be gluing friggin' shit or taping stuff down, and you can print almost all the way out to the edges.
Yeah.
It prints just about any body filament you want, and as far as the accuracy goes, it's just outstanding, especially compared to what's on the market. And at $900, I think was the store link that he put in there. It's very reasonable for a 3D printer. Or sorry, $700. It's
No, it's 900 assembled if you want it.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
It's $200. Just put the dang thing together yourself.
Yeah, it's bloody cheap for what it is, and it prints fair-sized stuff. I think Ken says you guys actually are playing with one.
I think Ken and his buddy are playing with one. Oh, you have one at your office? Yeah. Sweet.
So he'll back me up that apparently this thing is the best on the market, more or less, and it's not stupidly expensive.
Yeah, that's
Wonder if
not
Hewlett's
bad.
going to get one of those. Now that he's going to get that filthy lucre for being in a Guillermo del Toro film.
Wait, does that thing got the controller built into it? There's a screen
Fancy,
on the
huh?
front. So the controller, but the screen's on a big box that sits next to the thing. So this doesn't have that big box.
Oh, look, you load in your
okay.
little... Nice.
Yeah, it
And
looks, that's pretty cool.
9.84 by 8.3 by 8 inch prints. That's big.
Yeah? Oh, it's 2 months back ordered? Oh. Crap. Of course. Hopefully the quality
Buy it for
control
Christmas,
stays
Get
up.
it for Easter.
Yeah. All right, cool. Josh.
Me? Gosh, I thought you'd never get to me. I've been waiting for you, Alan. Waiting. Bated breath. Actually, it's kind of beer breath, but same thing. There's more cheap SSDs out there. This may not be a fantastic one, but for the price per gig, it's pretty amazing. So $68 for a 250 gig, reasonably fast SSD from Mushkin.
Cool.
Who can afford not to?
Triactor.
I think it's something like 27 cents per gig.
Yeah, that's not bad. there's probably going to be a bunch of on and off sales like between now and the Christmas. Actually, there might be some crazy ones after Christmas because you might have a bunch of stock of SSDs that didn't move during the Christmas season. They might just start cropping up in random places for like super cheap blowout prices. Just a hunch, because that kind of thing was happening last year.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I am trying to pull up the link for my pick.
You should do that faster.
All right. So I ordered some of these things for me, and it looks like they make great stocking stuffers. There was a Unbox Therapy video on this recently, and I was pretty shocked at how well this worked. And then I started reading a bunch of other reviews of people, and it pretty much looks like it just works like this well.
Is this your new nubbins?
Kind of. It's just like
a lint brush.
It works like a lint brush, in that it's like in a little shell and it's a roller, but it removes fingerprints and dust instead of lint. Like the fingerprint part is what kind of blows me away, because I mean, if it wasn't for me watching videos of this and like there just being overwhelming positive reviewers of this thing actually working, so I'm ordered these, and like maybe like next week on the podcast or whatnot, we'll fingerprint some screens and like roll this thing on them or something like that.
Those aren't fingerprints.
But I thought like that, surely this thing will just get gummed up. But the idea is that it rinses off. So, when it does stop working, you just rinse the thing off, and now it's clean. So then you can
get one of those cases with a piano black finish on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's anything that's glossy black or just glossy reflective that has fingerprints. Like this thing just kind of erases them, just like he rolls over and removes them. And I just like that it's a roll, like for something like a touchscreen laptop. That'd be pretty handy. It's kind of annoying when you've got a touchscreen laptop and then all of a sudden your lighting is just right so that the light is bouncing off all the fingerprints on the screen, and you have a black background. And like your laptop screen looks like butt. So you can just roll this thing over it and then clean it up. I don't know. Seems like a good idea for stocking stuffers, because like my mother-in-law's got like a laptop she's always touching the screen on, and it's not even a touch screen, and like, she's got an iPad, clean the iPad screen, just kind of makes sense. And it's a good stocking stuffer sized thing. Anyway, that's me. Ken, you got anything? No? All right. Ken's going to be boring. I guess that's it.
That's the works.
Alrighty.
Well, PCPro.com/podcast. It's where you can find all the stuff we were talking about. We'll put show notes up there. If you want to head to the boss, twitter.com/Ryan Shrout, or just twitter.com/PCPer. And that's it. With that, I'm Alan Malventano.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I am a super excited Josh Walrath because I get to go and finish an article.
Oh, he's happy.
You.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys.
If you enjoyed this content, consider supporting in-depth technical content by contributing at patreon.com/PCPer.